In recent days, the deportation of an Australian politician from Kuala Lumpur has highlighted questions about whether Malaysia's electoral system is free and fair. Senator Nick Xenophon was heading a multi-party delegation which had appointments with a government minister as well as Malaysia's Electoral Commission and opposition representatives. The Malaysian government has suggested it had doubts Senator Xenophon was an official member of the delegation. But the Malaysian opposition says it set up the appointments with the government. Anwar Ibrahim is Malaysia's opposition leader. Anwar Ibrahim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jim.
If your office was involved in setting up the appointments, why would the government have any doubts about the status of Senator Xenophon? Is the government right or not?
It's a frivolous argument. The government is fully aware of the role of Senator Nick Xenophon. He has been here. He has been coordinating with my office as opposition leader. We have made certain announcements regarding the visit and confirmed appointments. On Tuesday morning. He was due to meet at 9 a.m. Senator Nick Xenophon and the team, the Election Commission, and at 3 o'clock, Minister Nazri of the Prime Minister's office.
And these were appointments coordinated by your office and confirmed by the government?
Yes, this was done at the opposition leader's office, Parliament House, and they have confirmed these appointments.
Why do you think then the government would now be suggesting that there was doubt about whether or not Senator Xenophon was to be one of the members of the delegation?
I think it just is an afterthought to defend or whatever blunders they committed in getting him out of the country. Even assuming he is not a member of the delegation, you mean it warrants him to be sent out of the country? This is totally unacceptable and frivolous argument.
Do you think the government does now think it has blundered, that it would have been better to have stopped Senator Xenophon from coming to your country in the first place rather than have those pictures of him being detained on arrival in Kuala Lumpur for 9 hours or so?
Precisely, Jim. I mean, this is always, as I had suggested, the statecraft or semi-authoritarian governments. They always commit blunders and thinking that they could close the case by disallowing people to come in and talk about it. But the end result is, of course, greater media attention, because you are sending out a senator and at the same time they are now negotiating with a terrorist from the Philippines in Lahad Datu, Sabah. So there's a standard joke here. Send out an MP and then welcome terrorists.
Some reforms have been introduced in the way this year's elections are to be conducted, but in the opposition's view, why is what has happened not sufficient to guarantee that the poll will be free and fair?
In the last few years, there have been massive rallies in support of free and fair elections. There were, very tough, rough crackdown against some of these demonstrators during the earlier Bersih rallies. Now, as a result, Prime Minister Najib has responded and set up a committee, a parliamentary select committee. But unfortunately, the major recommendations has not been observed. For example, to clean the electoral list of voters. That is the key point in the recommendations. How do you proceed with the elections without ascertaining a credible list of voters, not bringing in foreigners or not bringing in phantom voters? Number two, there is absolutely no access to the media. Now, you find one or two Australian journalists defending this. It is atrocious. How can you defend Malaysia as a democracy when you don't allow 1 minute of airtime for any opposition leader?
I guess one argument might be that the opposition did much better than expected back in 2008 under these circumstances. So why won't you do as well this time, or perhaps even better?
Well, that's the worry. But, Jim, notwithstanding the fact that we did perform reasonably well in Malaya without access to media, you cannot condone a regime that effectively censor the voice of dissent or the voice of opposition and call it democracy. And you have friends, complicity to this sort of authoritarian or semi-authoritarian rule in Malaysia.
What does it say about Najib Rajak's confidence or otherwise that he has held off so long before calling the actual election? It's virtually unprecedented in Malaysian political history for a Prime Minister to wait until so late in a government's term before announcing polling day.
No, the fact that it has been prolonged to the maximum, in fact, is virtually a date of automatic dissolution, means that he lacks the confidence, despite the fact that they have massive funds and using the entire government machinery and no access to the media, to the opposition. It only portrays his uncertainty and lack of confidence. He's pushing to the maximum, and they compare here to the Gordon Brown strategy. And hopefully the end result will be the same.
One final question. You've been on the campaign trail. There are many more people on the electoral rolls than there were in 2008. Malaysia is also an increasingly young nation. I think I'm right when I say that nearly 50% of the population is under 25. Are those factors going to work in your favour? Regardless of the obstacles that you think you face, are you going to do better than you did in 2008?
We remain upbeat and very confident in spite of all these odds because firstly, Najib's strategy in the last 6 months to 1 year has been to focus only on the ethnic Malays, talking about their survival, their supremacy, and therefore having very strong racist undertones. And using, for example, Dr. Mahathir's rhetoric, even questioning citizenship given to the ethnic Chinese and Indians in 1957. And I think that has helped to not only antagonize Malay, the support of ethnic Chinese and Indians. And secondly, the clamour for change, for reform, for justice, the disgust against authoritarian trade and corruption among the young is really very and quite certainly pervasive. And I believe, therefore, we have an edge. We have to continue to work very hard. Our friends in the international community, those who are in support of democracy, could at the very least just impartial, remain impartial, but support a democratic process and not ever condone any sort of oppression or fraud in the electoral process.
Anwar Ibrahim, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.